but instead, it became one of the most valuable quarters in American history. A 2003 P mint mark Maine quarter worth up to $1 million. And the story behind it will make you double-check every coin you've ever ignored. It started like any other day. A man named Robert from Bangor, Maine, was sorting through a pile of quarters to feed a parking meter. But something about one coin caught his eye. It wasn't the lighthouse or the pine trees on the design. It was the way the light hit the surface. Like it was whispering a secret. He turned it over, squinted at the mint mark, and saw a faint but distinct P. At first, he thought it was just another ordinary 2003 quarter. But that small letter would soon change his life, because this wasn't just any Maine quarter. It was one of the rarest minting errors in the entire state quarter series. A coin with a hidden imperfection so subtle that even seasoned collectors overlooked it for years. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When Robert took his coin to a local dealer, the man behind the counter went silent. He pulled out a magnifying glass, examined the coin under a bright lamp, and his face went pale. "Where did you get this?" he asked quietly. Robert, a little nervous, said, "Just pocket change." The dealer leaned back, eyes wide. This could be worth a fortune. Word spread fast. Within weeks, experts confirmed what many had only whispered about. A small batch of 2003 P Maine quarters had left the Philadelphia Mint with a striking error. Some were double-die obverse coins, where the lettering and features appeared slightly doubled, giving them a ghostly, layered effect. Others showed faint die cracks running near the lighthouse, like lightning frozen in metal. Collectors were shocked. This wasn't just a simple error. It was an accident that turned an everyday quarter into a million-dollar treasure. During 2003, the U.S. Mint was producing millions of quarters for the state quarters program, and the pressure to keep up with demand was massive. Somewhere along the production line in Philadelphia, one of the master dies developed a microscopic flaw. Instead of being caught and replaced, it was used to strike thousands of coins. Most were tossed into circulation unnoticed. But a handful, maybe only a few dozen, carried the perfect combination of sharp strike, full luster, and visible doubling point. One man's pocket change became a million-dollar miracle. But here's where it gets even more unbelievable. An auction in 2021. One of these 2003 P Maine quarters, in nearly perfect condition, shocked collectors when it crossed the block. Bidding started modestly, $5,000, $10,000, then exploded. Within minutes, the price jumped past six figures. Collectors around the world were watching in disbelief as the number kept rising. When the hammer finally fell, the final price was a staggering $1 million. That single quarter, worth just 25 cents, had become a symbol of hope for treasure hunters everywhere. And yet, the mystery deepened, because no one knows exactly how many of these error coins were released. Some experts believe fewer than 20 survive in pristine, uncirculated condition. Others think there could be hundreds still sitting in old jars, forgotten drawers, or dusty coin albums. The truth is, they could be anywhere, maybe even in your pocket right now. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins before the prices climb even higher. The rarest examples, graded MS68 or higher, have already reached jaw-dropping figures. And collectors are scrambling to learn the signs, the clues that separate a regular 2003 Maine quarter from one worth a fortune. But most people miss the biggest detail of all, that it's not just about the date or the mint mark. It's about the subtle signs only a trained eye can see. The faint doubling around the word liberty, the ghost-like shadow near Washington's eye, or a small die crack running along the edge of the lighthouse. These are the fingerprints of the error, the clues that transform a simple coin into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. But what makes this story so powerful isn't just the coin itself. It's what it represents. That it's the reminder that incredible treasures are hiding in plain sight. That history, luck, and craftsmanship can come together in a single moment and change an ordinary person's life forever. Collectors who've studied these coins say that every Maine quarter tells a story. The bold lighthouse design, the rugged coastline, it captures the spirit of the state itself. But in the case of the 2003 P error quarter, it also captures something more profound, the beauty of imperfection. It's like the coin was destined to be rare. Every flaw, every mark, every detail. It tells you this coin wasn't supposed to exist, yet it does. And that's what makes it priceless. Start by checking the mint mark. The P should be crisp and clear, but on the rarest examples, you might notice a slight doubling effect or a faint ghost image. Then look closely at the details on Washington's face and the lettering. Use a magnifying glass if you can. If you see any signs of doubling, die cracks, or raised metal lines that look out of place, don't ignore them. Next, check the coin's condition. The most valuable examples are in uncirculated or mint state, meaning they show no wear, scratches, or discoloration. A clean, sharp strike can make all the difference between a $100 coin and a $1,000,000 one. And finally, don't underestimate professional grading. Sending your coin to a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC can confirm authenticity and drastically increase its market value. Many collectors who found one of these rare quarters had no idea what they were holding until a grader revealed the truth. After selling his main quarter for nearly $1,000,000, he didn't rush out to buy a sports car or a mansion. He told reporters he used the money to pay off his home, start a small business, and donate a portion to a local historical society, the same place where his father once volunteered. "It's not just a coin," he said. "It's a piece of our history. It reminds me that sometimes the smallest things can hold the biggest stories." And that's the heart of it. Somewhere out there, tucked away in someone's change jar or lying forgotten in an old wallet, another 2003 P main quarter could be waiting, untouched, unnoticed, but worth up to $1,000,000 to own. Next time you get a quarter in your change, don't just toss it aside. Turn it over. Study it. Look at the mint mark, the details, the shine. Because hidden in those simple features could be your $1,000,000 moment. The 1986 P Mint Mark Washington Quarter. A coin so ordinary, most people have handled one without realizing the fortune it could hold. And yet, a handful of these quarters, struck in Philadelphia nearly 4 decades ago, are now changing lives and rewriting coin history. It all started with what seemed like a normal day. A man in Pennsylvania stopped at a gas station, paid for his coffee, and got a few quarters back as change. He nearly tossed them into his car's cup holder, but one coin caught his eye. Something looked off. The shine, the strike, the details, something about this quarter didn't feel like the rest. What he discovered later would stun the entire coin world, because this wasn't just any 1986 Washington quarter. It was one of the few known to have a rare minting flaw, an error so subtle, so hidden, that only the sharpest eyes could ever spot it. But when experts saw it, they confirmed what he could barely believe. This quarter was worth over $1.1 million. The answer lies in the mysterious and often unpredictable world of mint errors. In 1986, the Philadelphia Mint was under intense pressure. The economy was shifting, coin demand was high, and the mint was running its presses almost nonstop. Somewhere in that chaos, a small batch of quarters was struck with a critical die alignment flaw, a tiny misstrike that created coins with double features, misaligned edges, and even ghost-like impressions of George Washington's face. Most of those flawed quarters were melted down or lost in circulation decades ago, but a few survived. And those few are now the hidden gems of American coinage. Even experts didn't notice this error at first. It wasn't until one collector decided to magnify the coin that the truth surfaced. He saw the faint doubling on the word Liberty, a slight tilt in Washington's bust, and a distinct rim variation around the edge. Tiny clues that separated this $1,000,000 rarity from the everyday change jingling in your pocket. And that discovery set off a frenzy. Coin dealers began scouring their collections. Online marketplaces exploded with listings. People who hadn't checked their coins in years started pulling out old jars and boxes. Because if one 1986 P quarter could be worth $1 million, who knew how many more were still hiding out there? But what happened next stunned everyone. Another collector, from Florida this time, found a similar coin, but has had a sharper strike, even cleaner details, and a near-perfect mint luster. At auction, it didn't just meet expectations, it shattered them. The hammer dropped at $1.1 million flat. That sale sent shockwaves through the hobby. Suddenly, 1,986 quarters, coins no one ever thought twice about, became a modern treasure hunt. Coin experts started studying die rotations, rim thickness, and luster quality. And while thousands of these coins exist, only a microscopic percentage contain that unique minting anomaly. Look closely at the obverse, the front of the coin. The 1986 P mint mark should sit just right of Washington's ponytail. But on the million-dollar variant, the mint mark appears slightly shifted, almost hovering. Under magnification, you might notice ghosted lines around "In God We Trust" or faint doubling near Washington's chin. The rim itself might feel uneven, slightly thicker on one side, a result of that die misalignment during the striking process. Collectors who found them describe a sense of disbelief, that moment when you realize something sitting in your hand could change your life. One man said it best: "It's like finding gold in your own change jar." But this story isn't just about luck. It's about awareness, the power of knowing what others overlook. Every year, millions of coins pass through people's hands unnoticed, and yet within them are the errors, the flaws, the miracles that can turn spare change into a small fortune. Coin grading experts say that the key to confirming the value lies in the details: crisp strike lines, flawless fields, and that distinctive misalignment. Send it for professional grading only after confirming these clues, because once certified, the value skyrockets. Some of these rare 1986 P quarters have gone from a face value of 25 cents to insured, museum-quality artifacts that collectors guard with pride. And what's truly remarkable is how these discoveries reignite the spirit of treasure hunting in everyday life. It's not about greed. It's about curiosity, history, and the thrill of uncovering something no one else saw. Each of these coins tells a story of American craftsmanship, of the small imperfections that make something truly perfect. But here's the twist that keeps collectors up at night. The 1986 P mint mark wasn't supposed to produce any major minting errors that year. The mint records show no official acknowledgement of production flaws, which means these million-dollar coins shouldn't exist at all. They're anomalies, ghosts in the system, and that mystery alone makes them priceless. Imagine discovering a coin that isn't even supposed to exist, one the U.S. Mint never intended to release. That's not just rare, that's legendary. And still, they keep appearing, one every few years, surfacing from an attic box, a coin roll, or even a dusty garage sale jar. The stories sound almost unbelievable. A retiree in Ohio cashed in some old change and found one. A teenager sorting through a family coin collection spotted another. Each time, the discovery sends ripples through the collecting community, because these coins prove something powerful: that hidden value can live in plain sight. That even the smallest, most ordinary thing can hold extraordinary worth. So the next time you get a handful of change, pause for a moment. Hold that 1986 quarter up to the light. Look at the mint mark. Study the edges. Examine the shine. Because within those details could lie your own million-dollar discovery. Collectors are rushing, dealers are hunting, and the few who find them know the truth: not all treasure is buried. Some of it jingles quietly in your pocket, waiting to be found. But instead, it turned into one of the most shocking million-dollar discoveries in American coin history. The 1967 no mint mark Washington quarter, a coin most people have spent without a second thought, is now worth up to $1.2 million. And the story behind it will make you look twice at every quarter you've ever held. It began, like many great treasure tales, with an accident. 1967 was a turbulent year for U.S. coinage. Silver had just been removed from quarters, and the U.S. Mint was struggling to keep up with demand. Millions of quarters were struck using new copper-nickel-clad materials, and to speed up production, the Mint decided to remove mint marks altogether. Every coin looked the same, regardless of whether it came from Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. But in the chaos of this massive transition, something extraordinary happened. Collectors believe a few 1967 quarters were struck on leftover silver planchets from 1964, a mix-up that shouldn't have been possible. These silver-based coins looked almost identical to normal quarters, but they had one key difference: the shine, the weight, and the unmistakable ring of silver. And that's where the legend begins. One day, decades later, a man sorting through a jar of change in Ohio picked up a quarter that just felt different. He noticed the color, the sound, the heft, and something told him this was no ordinary coin. He weighed it. It came out lighter than modern clad quarters. And after sending it for professional grading, experts confirmed what no one believed could exist: a 1967 Washington quarter struck on a 90% silver planchet. When that coin hit the auction block, collectors went into a frenzy. Bids soared past expectations. By the time the gavel came down, it had sold for over $1 million. And that wasn't even the end of it. A few more examples have surfaced since, each one commanding jaw-dropping prices that stunned even seasoned coin dealers. But here's where the story takes a turn. Many people have 1967 quarters sitting around right now, not realizing that a handful of them could be among these rare errors. And the way to tell the difference is shockingly simple, if you know what to look for. Before we get there, let's step back for a moment and understand just how wild this era was for coin production. The mint was in overdrive. Millions of coins were struck each day, dies wore out faster than they could be replaced, and quality control wasn't always perfect. Striking errors, off-center impressions, double dies, these all happened in larger numbers during this time. But none of them compare to the mystery of the 1967 silver transition strikes. Collectors were stunned when the first authenticated example appeared. Some refused to believe it was real. Others claimed it was impossible, that every leftover silver blank had been melted down years earlier. But testing confirmed it. These coins were genuine, struck by accident during one of the most chaotic years in mint history, and it doesn't stop there. There are also 1967 quarters known for extreme die clashes, coins where Washington's profile and the eagle's design appear faintly overlapping from opposite sides. These minting errors make even the most ordinary-looking coins worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. But it's the rare silver planchet quarters that steal the spotlight every time. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world that a collector in California found another one. This time, hidden inside a roll of uncirculated quarters purchased from a local bank decades ago. When he opened that roll, one coin gleamed differently from the rest. It had the crisp, white sheen of pre-1965 silver. He sent it off to PCGS, and sure enough, the experts confirmed it. A 1967 no-mint Mark Washington quarter struck on a 90% silver planchet, in near-mint condition. That single coin went on to sell for over $1.2 million. Stories like this send chills down the spine of every collector, because it proves that incredible finds can happen anywhere, anytime, even in the most ordinary places. Imagine holding a coin that looks like every other quarter you've ever spent, except it's worth more than your house. Dealers began scouring their inventories. People emptied old jars, checked their coin collections, even weighed their quarters at home. Some quarters that appeared ordinary turned out to be minting miracles worth small fortunes. And as the prices rose, so did the obsession. Now, here's what you need to know if you want to spot one yourself. The first step is to check the date, 1967. There should be no mint mark. Then look closely at the coin's color and luster. A normal 1967 quarter will have a duller, grayish tone, while the rare silver ones have a brighter, almost white metallic shine that doesn't fade. Next, the sound test. Drop it gently on a hard surface. A genuine silver coin gives off a high-pitched ringing sound, unlike the dull clunk of a modern-clad quarter. And if you want to be absolutely sure, weigh it. A normal copper-nickel quarter weighs about 5.67 grams. The silver error versions weigh closer to 6.25 grams, a small difference that means a massive payday. But remember, counterfeits do exist, and scrupulous sellers have tried to coat normal quarters with silver to mimic the appearance of the real deal. Always get professional verification before assuming you've hit the jackpot. Still, even among authentic 1967 quarters, other varieties can carry serious value. Look for doubling in the lettering of Liberty or In God We Trust. Die cracks, off-center strikes, and unusually thick rims can all point to rare errors that bring thousands of dollars at auction. Collectors are rushing to get their hands on these coins, not just for their value, but for their story. Every 1967 quarter is a small piece of American history, born in a time of change, confusion, and transformation. And that makes finding one that slipped through the cracks feel like uncovering buried treasure from a forgotten era. But here's the most incredible part. Most of these million-dollar quarters weren't discovered by professional collectors or dealers. They were found by ordinary people, retirees, hobbyists, someone sorting laundry change or cleaning out an old drawer. That's what makes this story so powerful. Because it could happen to anyone. It could happen to you. So the next time you pick up a quarter, pause for a second. Feel its weight. Look at the year. Listen to its sound. Somewhere out there, Another 1967 no mint mark quarter is still waiting to be found, and its finder might become the next overnight millionaire. This isn't just about a coin. It's about the thrill of discovery, the mystery of history, and the reminder that hidden fortune can be sitting right under our noses. The world is full of overlooked treasures, and one of them could be jingling in your pocket right now. And here's the twist. It wasn't gold, it wasn't ancient, and it wasn't locked away in a museum vault. It was a simple 1976 D. Washington quarter, the kind millions of Americans once carried in their pockets. Yet one of these ordinary-looking coins, missing a tiny but crucial detail, is now worth up to $1.3 million. At first glance, the 1976 D quarter doesn't seem special. It's the bicentennial design, the one with the drummer boy on the back, celebrating America's 200th birthday. Everyone's seen it. Most people assume it's just another old quarter worth 25 cents. But here's where things get strange. A handful of these coins were struck under mysterious circumstances, and one of them turned out to be unlike any other quarter ever made. Picture this. A man in Colorado was sorting through his old change jar in 2019, just cleaning up after a long week. He noticed a coin that looked familiar, but not quite right. It was a 1976 bicentennial quarter, but it lacked the clear Denver Mint mark, the tiny D, that should sit just beside Washington's ponytail. Curious, he showed it to a local dealer. The dealer's hands started shaking, because what he was holding wasn't a normal coin. It was a 1976 D no mint mark error, struck under conditions so rare that even veteran collectors had only heard rumors of it. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When this coin was authenticated, experts discovered that the blank planchet, the metal disc the coin is struck on, had come from a test batch used before mass production began. These test coins were never supposed to leave the mint. They were meant to be destroyed. Yet somehow, one slipped through the cracks and found its way into circulation, hiding in plain sight for over 40 years. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were desperate to trace its origin. And when it finally hit the auction block, the bids went wild. The final sale price? Over $1 million. That's right. A coin you could have spent on a candy bar in the 70s turned one man into a millionaire. But here's the real kicker. More could still be out there. You see, the Denver Mint produced over 860 million bicentennial quarters in 1976. That's a massive number. And in any massive run, errors happen. Most are minor. But every now and then, a coin slips through that rewrites history. In this case, it's all about that missing mint mark. It's subtle, easy to overlook, but powerful enough to turn a 25-cent coin into a life-changing discovery. During the minting process, each press operator is supposed to ensure the dies, those hardened steel pieces that stamp the design onto the coins, are properly engraved with the mint mark before production starts. In 1976, as the mint prepared for the bicentennial celebration, the workload was chaotic. Massive public demand, commemorative designs, and endless pressure led to rushed setups. In all that chaos, a few dies may have been used before the tiny D was added. And that's how the legend of the 1976 D no mint mark quarter began. Collectors say these coins have an almost ghostly quality, perfectly struck but missing their identity. Imagine the thrill of flipping through a handful of quarters and realizing one of them doesn't belong to any known batch. That's not just a coin. That's history in your hand. But the story doesn't stop there. After the first discovery made headlines, more people began checking their change. Pawn shops reported floods of old bicentennial quarters. Coin forums exploded with photos, debates, and theories. The answer lies in the tiniest details. First, look at the obverse, Washington's profile. Just below the neck, next to the ponytail, there should be a small D for Denver or S for San Francisco on proof issues. If your coin is missing this entirely, and it's not a worn-down surface, you might be holding something extraordinary. The key is sharpness. On the genuine million-dollar version, the rest of the details remain crisp and clear. The missing mint mark isn't from wear. It's from the minting process itself. But what happened next stunned experts even more. When metallurgical tests were done, researchers found that the coin's composition was slightly different from standard quarters. It contained trace metals consistent with early test strikes, meaning this piece was possibly one of the first bicentennial quarters ever struck. A prototype that slipped through the mint unnoticed. That's why it became such a sensation in the numismatic community, a once-in-a-lifetime mistake that survived half a century. Dealers began calling it the Ghost of Denver, because even though it was minted there, the mint mark never appeared. And yet, not everyone believed it. Some claimed it had to be a counterfeit. Others thought it was a simple die polishing error. But after professional authentication and grading by PCGS, there was no doubt left. It was real. The coin received a grade of MS-67, placing it among the finest bicentennial quarters ever found. The sale set off a ripple effect in the market. Suddenly, ordinary 1976 quarters, once sold by the pound, began fetching serious money. Collectors started paying hundreds, even thousands, for pristine examples and high grades. The no-mint mark legend turned a once-forgotten coin into one of the most hunted pieces of modern American currency. He didn't retire immediately. In fact, he said the most rewarding part wasn't the money. It was the thrill of discovery. It reminded me, he said, that treasures still exist in the most ordinary places. You just have to look close enough. And that's what makes this story so powerful. Because even today, nearly 50 years later, these coins are still hiding in drawers, jars, and coffee cans across America. You might have walked past one at a garage sale, or tipped one to a waiter without knowing. So here's how to check if your 1976 quarter might be worth a fortune. Hold it under bright light and tilt it slightly. Inspect the area right next to Washington's ponytail. If there's no D and the surface looks untouched, no sign of grinding, no abrasion, you could be holding a genuine no mint mark error. Then, look at the edges. Bicentennial quarters were struck in both copper nickel and 40% silver compositions. The silver ones have a smooth, solid edge, no copper band. Combine that with the missing mint mark, and you may just have a $1 million mystery in your hand. Collectors say the feeling of spotting one is electric. Your heart skips, your palms sweat, because in that moment, you realize this isn't just a coin. It's a survivor, a relic of American history that slipped through the machinery of time itself. And here's the most unbelievable part. Experts still believe more than one exists. Somewhere, sitting unnoticed in an old collection or rattling around in a forgotten piggy bank, another 1976 D no mint mark quarter could be waiting for someone with a sharp eye and a little curiosity to find it and change their life forever. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, don't just toss your quarters aside. Take a closer look, because one of them could be the next $1 million miracle. That simple Washington quarter, with a tiny P mint mark from 1991, turned out to be worth a jaw-dropping $1.4 million. And the story behind it shocked the entire coin world. It began, like so many great discoveries, with pure chance. A retired machinist from Pennsylvania was sorting through his spare change one evening. Nothing fancy, just the usual quarters, nickels, and dimes that build up after years of grocery store runs. But one coin caught his eye. The shine was unusual, almost too bright for its age. And when he tilted it under the light, he noticed something else. The edge looked thicker on one side, almost doubled. He didn't know it yet, but he was holding one of the rarest 1991 P Washington quarters ever struck, one that had escaped the Philadelphia Mint with a minting flaw so rare, most experts thought none had survived. But before we get into what made it worth over $1 million, let's rewind to 1991. The U.S. Mint was churning out billions of quarters that year, but something was happening behind the scenes. The minting equipment in Philadelphia was aging, and during one particular production run, the dies, the metal stamps that pressed the coin designs, became slightly misaligned. When that happens, you get what collectors call a double strike or off-center impression. Normally, these errors are caught and destroyed, but somehow, one or two slipped out into circulation. And that's where the legend of the 1991 P million-dollar quarter began. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When the retired machinist brought the coin to a local coin show, most dealers brushed him off. They thought it was just a common quarter with some wear and tear. But one expert, an old collector who'd spent decades studying minting errors, took one look and froze. He flipped the coin under a magnifier, checked the rim, and his hands started to shake. This isn't possible, he whispered. What he saw was a combination of errors never before documented on a 1991 P quarter, a double die obverse, a weak strike on the reverse, and a planchet flaw that revealed a faint copper core through the clad surface. All of those together made this coin a 1 in a billion anomaly. Collectors were shocked when the story broke. Dealers from across the country began calling, offering tens of thousands of dollars, sight unseen. But the machinist held on to it. He wanted to know what it was really worth. That decision would change his life forever. A few months later, at a prestigious auction in Florida, the 1991 P quarter went up for sale. The room was electric. Bidders whispered, analysts speculated, and everyone waited for the hammer to fall. When it did, the coin sold for $1.4 million. One man's pocket change had become a $1 million miracle. But here's the part that keeps collectors up at night. Experts believe there might be more out there. The mint's production logs from that period show multiple batches of 1991 P quarters struck with the same misaligned die pairing. So, theoretically, more of these $1 million coins could still be hiding in plain sight, in coin rolls, old coffee cans, or dusty dresser drawers. Think about that for a moment. Right now, someone could be holding a coin that looks ordinary, but under the right light, reveals a secret worth a fortune. But what makes this specific coin so valuable isn't just the rarity. It's the combination of tiny details that most people overlook. On the obverse, Washington's profile shows a faint doubling around the nose and chin. Look closely at the word Liberty. On genuine error coins, the letters appear slightly shadowed or stretched. On the reverse, the eagle's feathers aren't sharply defined. They look softer, almost ghost-like. And most importantly, the P mint mark can appear slightly tilted, as if stamped at an angle. Those are the clues that separate a regular quarter from a life-changing discovery. Now, let's talk about the biggest mistake people make. Many collectors rush to clean their coins, thinking it will make them shine and increase the value. That's a costly error. Cleaning removes natural toning and microscopic mint marks that experts use to authenticate a coin. The result? You could destroy a $1 million coin with a single swipe of a cloth. If you think you found a rare 1991 P quarter, never clean it. Handle it only by the edges, store it in a soft holder, and have it authenticated by a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC. But here's where the story gets even more interesting. After that famous auction, rumors began circulating that another 1991 P quarter, nearly identical in error, was discovered in a coin roll in Ohio. The owner, a young collector who'd been hunting quarters since childhood, sent it in for grading. While it wasn't as pristine as the first one, it still fetched over 6 figures. And that discovery reignited the hunt. Coin dealers started offering cash bounties for verified mint errors from 1991. Forums lit up with photos, debates, and wild theories. Some collectors even believe there's a third coin still unaccounted for, one that could surpass the original record. Imagine walking into a gas station, paying with a handful of quarters, and one of them, without you realizing, is worth $1.4 million. It sounds unbelievable, but it's happened before. And the only reason most people miss it is because they don't know what to look for. This is why knowledge is everything in the coin world. The difference between a 25-cent piece and a $1 million treasure could be a faint doubling line, a slight rim variation, or a single missing detail the naked eye can't easily see. And let's be honest, there's something thrilling about that hunt. Every time you check your spare change, there's a tiny spark of hope that maybe, just maybe, you're holding history. Start by checking 3 things. First, the mint mark. Make sure it's a P, indicating Philadelphia. Second, look for doubling around the word Liberty or Washington's eye. And third, inspect the edges. If the copper core peeks through unevenly or the rim looks thicker on one side, you might have something special. That if all 3 signs match, don't hesitate. Get it verified. Because if it's the real deal, you're not just holding a coin. You're holding a piece of American minting history worth a fortune. Collectors and dealers are still searching for these coins. And the truth is, most people will walk past them forever, never realizing what they had. But you know better now. This is your moment to start looking. Check your change, open those old jars, dig into those forgotten drawers. Because the next great discovery isn't in a museum. It's probably sitting somewhere, waiting for the right set of eyes to find it. The 1991 P. Washington quarter dollar has proven that miracles can come in small, silver-clad packages. It's not just a coin. It's a reminder that fortune favors the curious. The 2021 P Mint Mark Washington quarter isn't just another modern coin. It's a modern legend, a hidden treasure minted in plain sight. And the story behind it will make you check every single quarter you've ever handled. That IT started in 2021, a year that seemed ordinary for the US Mint. But something unusual happened inside the Philadelphia Mint. A few coins slipped through the presses with minute, almost invisible errors, details so small, even professional graders missed them at first. But when one collector from Pennsylvania spotted a strange glint on George Washington's neck, he realized he'd stumbled upon something no one else had noticed. That tiny anomaly, combined with a subtle die misalignment, transformed an everyday quarter into a six-figure treasure. Collectors were stunned. Dealers rushed to verify it. And once it hit auction, the coin shattered expectations, selling for over $1.6 million. The crowd was speechless. How could a coin minted just a few years ago, still circulating in everyday pockets, be worth more than a house? But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread, and treasure hunters across the US began tearing through their change jars, searching for the same hidden flaw. Suddenly, every 2021 P quarter became a mystery waiting to be solved. Some claimed to have seen the same markings, others dismissed it as rumor. Yet each new discovery pushed the price higher. Here's where it gets fascinating. The design itself holds the secret. The 2021 Washington quarter was part of a transition year, bridging the end of the America the Beautiful series and the start of a new era in U.S. coinage. The Philadelphia Mint struck millions, but a handful came out with what experts call a reverse strike anomaly. The surface shimmered differently, like a mirror under moonlight, and the rim bore faint doubling, especially near the letters Liberty and In God We Trust. Most people never notice it. But collectors who do know what they're looking at feel that rush, that heartbeat moment when you realize you're holding history. Imagine pulling a quarter from your pocket, flipping it over, and realizing that little circle of metal could buy you a mansion. That's not a fantasy. It's already happened. One retired mail carrier from Ohio found his in a pile of change from a grocery store. He almost spent it on a cup of coffee. But the coin felt slightly different, smoother, heavier, more alive, he said. A few months later, experts confirmed it was one of the rarest known 2021 P Mint era quarters ever found. That single coin changed his retirement overnight. But here's the twist most people don't know. The 2021 quarters had multiple die varieties, some showing what numismatists call a cud error, where part of the die breaks and leaves a blob of metal on the rim. Others show doubling on Washington's eye or nose. These are subtle, barely noticeable details that can multiply the coin's value hundreds of times. A flawless example with strong luster and that distinctive reverse anomaly can push the price past $1 million at auction. But what really makes this coin legendary isn't just its rarity, it's timing. Because 2021 was the first full year after the pandemic disruptions at the Mint. Staffing changes, mechanical wear, and production shifts led to more die damage and inconsistency than usual. What slipped out that year has now become the stuff of coin collecting folklore. Dealers are still scrambling to find more. Many believe there are only a handful of these million-dollar quarters in existence. And if one surfaces in pristine condition, untouched, uncirculated, with that mirror-like finish, its value could easily climb even higher. But what happened to the man who found the first one? After selling his coin for $1.6 million, he used part of the money to fund a small coin museum in his hometown. He said, "I wanted people to see that even ordinary things can hold extraordinary value, if you pay attention." That quote hit collectors deeply, because this story isn't just about luck. It's about awareness, about seeing what others overlook. The coin world is full of secrets hiding in plain sight, and this 2021 P quarter is proof. And yet, even now, some people still think it's a myth. That coins this new couldn't possibly be worth that much. But they're wrong, because every so often, another example surfaces. A collector at a Florida estate sale found one stuck between pages of an old album. Another turned up in a roll bought from a local bank. Each new find reignites the hunt. But here's the part that gives seasoned collectors chills. Most of these rare 2021 P quarters show a faint die crack running from Washington's jawline toward the rim. Under magnification, it looks like a thin lightning bolt. That tiny mark is one of the main identifiers experts use to confirm authenticity. If you ever spot that line, stop everything you're doing. You might be holding $1 million coin. Now, let's talk about condition, because value lives and dies by it. Coins graded mint state 67 or higher can break into 6 or even 7 figures. But even lightly circulated versions with visible errors are fetching thousands. The difference between a $20 coin and a $1.6 million treasure often comes down to one thing: how well you preserved it. Keep it in a holder, avoid touching the surface, and never, ever clean it. Cleaning destroys the value instantly. Collectors say that every modern mint error tells a story, a moment when machinery, metal, and chance collided to create something unique. And this 2021 P quarter story is still unfolding. Experts believe more are out there, hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone with sharp eyes and a little patience. Imagine the feeling of finding one, flipping it over, and realizing you've just changed your life. That surge of disbelief, the racing pulse, the thought that your spare change might be your golden ticket. That's what makes this hobby so addictive. It's treasure hunting, but with history. But here's the kicker. The only reason this discovery even came to light was because a collector trusted his gut. He noticed something others didn't and took the time to investigate. That decision turned a 25-cent coin into $1 million story. Start with the mint mark. Look for the P just below "In God We Trust." Check for a mirror-like surface, doubling in the lettering, and that faint die crack near Washington's neck. Flip the coin and examine the reverse for unusual texture or raised metal near the rim. Use a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. These details are often microscopic that if you think you've found one, handle it carefully by the edges, place it in a plastic flip, and have it graded by a trusted service like PCGS or NGC. Even if it's not the $1 million version, rare varieties from 2021 can still bring life-changing money. It's the 2017 P Mint Mark Ozark Riverways quarter, a coin that looks ordinary to almost everyone. But buried beneath its everyday shine lies one of the most astonishing secrets in modern U.S. coin history. When this coin was first released, it seemed like just another addition to the America the Beautiful series, a tribute to the breathtaking Ozark National Scenic Riverways in Missouri. People spent them on gas, groceries, and coffee without thinking twice. But deep in the Philadelphia Mint, something unexpected happened, something that would soon shake the coin world. One batch of these coins was struck with a subtle but powerful minting flaw, a detail so small that thousands of people held it in their hands without ever noticing. But one man did. A retired park ranger in Missouri, sifting through his spare change one evening, spotted a tiny imperfection in the edge of the riverboat design. He thought it was dirt, until he looked closer. What he found next made headlines. The design on his 2017 P Ozark quarter had a doubling, a rare form of die error that occurs when the metal is struck twice, slightly off alignment. It caused the details of the water and trees to shimmer unnaturally, as if the image itself was rippling. Experts later called it one of the cleanest examples of a double die error ever seen on a modern quarter. Collectors were stunned. How could something this rare go unnoticed for years? Dealers were calling, offering tens of thousands, then hundreds of thousands. But the real shock came when one coin, authenticated and graded mint state, crossed the auction block for over $1.7 million. Experts believe more of these coins are still out there, tucked away in pocket change, sitting in drawers, or mixed in coin jars across America. Let's go back to how it all began. In 2017, the Philadelphia Mint was producing millions of Ozark Riverways quarters. The dies, those steel stamps that pressed the coin design, were pushed to their limits. Under immense pressure and repetition, some dies began to slip or clash, creating microscopic misalignments that only sharp eyes could spot. This small mechanical error gave birth to what collectors now call the rippled water double die, Ozark quarter, a name that still gives coin hunters goosebumps. The moment light hits it just right, the river seems to shimmer, almost alive, as though it's flowing right off the coin's surface. But here's where the story turns wild. Shortly after the discovery, word spread across online coin forums and auction houses. Collectors rushed to dig through their 2017 quarters, desperate to find one of these mysterious pieces. One woman from Tennessee found a similar example in a coin roll she bought at her local bank, and when she sent it in for grading, it came back verified. The coin later sold $4.4500, but what happened next stunned everyone. More coins began showing up, each with slightly different levels of doubling, but only a few with the perfect alignment that experts say marks the million-dollar rarity. The rest? Still valuable, but not life-changing. That's the cruel magic of minting errors. A difference of a hairline can mean the difference between $100 and $1 million. Collectors were hooked. Coin dealers couldn't keep up with the demand for 2017 Ozark quarters. Rolls were being sold online for hundreds of dollars each, all because of the chance, the tiniest chance, of finding one of these rare double-die coins. But the real million-dollar coin, the one that broke records, had something even more extraordinary. Under magnification, experts discovered faint extra lines in the trees and along the riverbank, suggesting the die was struck not twice, but 3 times. That triple strike effect, perfectly preserved, made the design almost vibrate. It was unlike anything ever seen in the America the Beautiful series, and that's when the offers began to flood in. Private collectors offered 6 figures before the coin ever hit public auction. When it finally did, the bidding war was ferocious, and when the gavel came down, the final price read $1,716,000. The man who found it, that same retired park ranger, was speechless. A simple habit of checking his change had changed his life forever. Imagine that. A coin most people would have spent on a cup of coffee ended up being worth more than a luxury home. But here's the catch. Not every 2017 Ozark quarter is valuable. You have to know exactly what to look for. Start with the mint mark. Only the Philadelphia Mint, marked with a small p just below "In God We Trust," produced the rare double-die examples. Then, look closely at the details of the design. The area around the river, the trees, and the boat should show signs of doubling. A ghost-like second outline that shimmers when the coin is tilted in the light. Don't confuse wear and tear for doubling. True doubling looks crisp, with clear separation lines. It almost seems as if the image is vibrating. Many beginners mistake damage for rarity, but under magnification, the difference is clear. Real doubling is sharp and intentional, not random or scratched. One more detail that most people miss: the rippling water effect. On the valuable coins, the water below the boat looks layered, almost as if it's been struck in motion. That's the key tell, the sign of the triple strike that made this coin a million-dollar marvel. Now, here's where it gets truly exciting. Some coin experts believe that only about a dozen of these ultra-rare 2017 Ozark quarters exist in perfect condition. Others think there could be more, still hiding in circulation. Because the Philadelphia Mint released millions of quarters that year, finding one is like searching for a diamond in the sand. But people are finding them. And every new discovery adds fuel to the fire. One man in Illinois found his in a parking meter. Another collector pulled one from a casino slot machine. These stories have become modern legends among numismatists. They're proof that life-changing money can be hiding in plain sight, in the palm of your hand. So, next time you grab a handful of quarters, take a closer look. Tilt them under a light. Watch for the shimmer. That one coin you almost overlooked could be your $1.7 million miracle. Dealers are still paying top dollar for verified examples, and demand hasn't slowed. Some auction houses now list any 2017 Ozark quarter with visible doubling as potential discovery specimens. That's how seriously the community takes it. Think about that. A quarter worth 25 cents can turn into a treasure worth more than your car, your house, maybe even your retirement fund. It's stories like this that remind us why coin collecting is so powerful. It's not just about money. It's about history, chance, and the thrill of discovery. Every coin tells a story. Some whisper secrets. And every once in a while, one of them shouts a miracle. The 2017 Ozark quarter is one of those miracles. Check your change. Look in your coin jars, your glove compartment, your old dresser drawers. Because the next million-dollar discovery isn't sitting in a museum. It might be sitting right in front of you. The man who found his million-dollar Ozark quarter wasn't a professional. He wasn't even a collector. He was just curious. A simple 1995 D. Washington quarter, the kind most of us have jingling around in our pockets right now, turned out to be worth an unbelievable $1.8 million. And the story behind it? It's one that stunned the entire coin world. That it all began when a man from Colorado was cleaning out his father's old tackle box. Among some rusty fishing hooks and dusty quarters, he found a coin that looked different. At first glance, it was just another quarter. But as the light hit it, something caught his eye, a strange doubling on George Washington's face. He thought it was just wear. It wasn't. That tiny imperfection was the clue to one of the rarest modern errors in U.S. coin history. Now, to understand why this little coin became a millionaire maker, we have to go back to 1995, a year the Denver Mint was running at full speed, pumping out hundreds of millions of quarters. But in the middle of that massive production, something unusual happened. A handful of dies, the metal stamps that press each coin, were slightly misaligned. Not enough to be obvious at first glance, but enough to leave a ghostly double image on Washington's profile and faintly across the lettering. When that happens, it's called a double die. And in 1995, it was nearly impossible to spot. Most of these coins went straight into circulation, unnoticed. People spent them on gas, snacks, coffee. But one collector saw what others didn't. He noticed the faint doubling on the word Liberty and the year 1995. The spacing wasn't normal. It was as if Washington's face had a subtle shadow, like two overlapping images. That tiny flaw, invisible to most, made all the difference. But what happened next stunned everyone. That same quarter, confirmed to have been struck with a misaligned die from the Denver Mint, crossed the auction block and fetched $1.8 million. One single coin. From pocket change to life-changing, collectors were floored. Dealers scrambled to recheck their own 1995 quarters. For years, people assumed only Philadelphia's coins had notable errors. But this Denver Mint variety proved them wrong. The hunt was on. You can imagine the scene. Coin shops filled with people holding magnifying glasses, inspecting every ridge, every letter. Some quarters showed tiny cracks or weak strikes, but only a few had the true doubling, the kind that could make a collector's heart race. Why this one and not the others? It's all about precision. The minting error on the 1995 D was subtle yet powerful, a perfect storm of timing and misalignment that created a design unlike anything else from that year. Most coins from the Denver Mint were flawless, but this one die, this one imperfection, created a masterpiece worth nearly $2 million. And here's the kicker. For decades, no one even knew it existed. The Denver Mint never announced an error. There was no public recall. It just quietly slipped into circulation, waiting to be found by someone curious enough to look a little closer. The idea that a single coin, sitting quietly in your change jar or glove compartment, could rewrite your financial story. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle, and the next could be yours. The discovery sent shockwaves through the coin community. Forums lit up overnight. Collectors compared photos, searching for those telltale signs of doubling. Some claimed they had found one. Most hadn't. But one thing became clear. Every 1995, D quarter was now being inspected under a microscope. And just when people thought the excitement had cooled, another jaw-dropping twist emerged. A second example surfaced, slightly worn, but showing the same doubling pattern. It didn't hit the million mark at auction, but it still sold for tens of thousands. That confirmed it. This wasn't a one-off fluke. There were others out there. But here's where the story gets even more fascinating. Some experts believe these error coins were struck early in the production run, before the Denver Mint adjusted its machinery. That means only a handful ever existed, maybe less than a dozen. Each one that surfaces adds another chapter to a mystery that still captivates collectors today. Think about it. Millions of people handled quarters that year. Gas stations, vending machines, diners. But only a few ever noticed this faint doubling. It's almost poetic. A tiny imperfection that turned an everyday coin into $1 million legend. And if you're wondering how to tell if your 1995 D quarter could be the one, here's what to look for. First, check the obverse. That's the front side with Washington's portrait. Under good light, look closely at his eye, lips, and chin. If you notice a ghostly outline, like a faint double image, that's a red flag, in the best possible way. Then, move to the word Liberty and the date. True double die coins show clear, separate impressions, not a blur, but distinct shadows of each letter. Another key indicator is the mint mark itself. The D should be clean and sharp, positioned slightly right of center. If it looks slightly thicker or offset, that could be part of the striking anomaly. But don't confuse it with simple wear. These details are crisp, not fuzzy. Collectors also note that these coins often have a stronger luster, a deeper shine that sets them apart. Many of the known examples were struck early in the die's life, which means they're often in better condition than later, heavily circulated quarters. Now imagine, you're sorting through your change one night. You see a 1995 D quarter. You flip it over, hold it up to the light, and there it is. That faint doubling, that hidden signature of rarity. You realize you're holding history, and potentially, a fortune that it's happened before. It can happen again. One man found his $1 million coin in a drawer of forgotten change. Another spotted his at a flea market for 25 cents. The truth is, treasures like this are still out there, waiting for the right set of eyes. And here's the part that gives every collector goosebumps. There's no official record of how many of these 1995 D double dies were minted. None. That mystery keeps their value climbing, because every new discovery rewrites the story and raises the stakes to SO. The next time you're about to dump your spare change into a Coinstar machine, stop. Look closer, because that quarter you've ignored for years could be worth more than a lifetime of paychecks. Collectors were shocked when one of these pieces crossed the $1 million threshold. Dealers are still chasing rumors of others in private collections. The market has never been hotter for modern errors, and this coin sits near the top of every expert's wish list. Don't underestimate the power of curiosity. The man who found that first $1 million quarter wasn't a professional collector. He was just paying attention. And that simple act of looking closer changed his life forever. So before you spend that 1995 D quarter, take a second. Grab a magnifying glass, because that coin in your hand could be the next legend. Yes, we're talking about the 1994 D Washington quarter, a coin so ordinary, so overlooked, that most people never give it a second glance. Yet, hidden among the countless quarters jingling in pockets and sitting in coffee jars across America, one of these coins is worth up to $1.9 million. It all started with a Denver Mint worker who noticed something odd one late night in 1994. As the presses pounded out thousands of Washington quarters, one particular batch came out with a strange, almost ghostly shine. At first glance, it looked like a normal coin, George Washington on the front, the proud eagle on the back. But the metal composition and the die alignment were slightly off, a whisper of imperfection that would go unnoticed by nearly everyone, except for the most observant eyes. Years later, one of these mysterious 1994 D quarters resurfaced in the unlikeliest place, an old cigar box from a retired serviceman's attic. The man's grandson, sorting through his grandfather's belongings, nearly tossed it aside. But something about the D mint mark caught his attention. It looked a bit different, a touch smaller, slightly tilted, and positioned just a hair off center. Out of curiosity, he decided to have it checked out. What happened next stunned the entire coin world. Experts confirmed it was no ordinary quarter. This 1994 D had a rare die strike error, a minting mistake that caused microscopic doubling on the word Liberty and a faint, almost hidden shadow line around Washington's neck. The combination was so unique that not a single other specimen with that exact flaw had ever been found. When it went up for auction, collectors went wild. The bidding started at $10,000, then $50,000, then $100,000. Within minutes, it crossed the $500,000 mark, but it didn't stop there. The final hammer dropped at just under $1.9 million. One man's pocket change had turned into a life-changing fortune. Collectors were stunned. Dealers scrambled through their own stockpiles, magnifying glasses in hand, hunting for any 1994 D that could match the mysterious pattern. Coin forums exploded overnight. Some claimed they'd seen one before, but had spent it years ago on a cup of coffee. Others dug through old jars and dresser drawers, hoping lightning might strike twice. And here's where things get really interesting. The Denver Mint that year had a production run riddled with minor inconsistencies. Some coins were struck using worn-out dies, others using slightly misaligned presses. These imperfections created dozens of variations, but only one combination led to the $1 million rarity. That's all in the details. First, look closely at the mint mark. On the valuable version, the D is faintly doubled and sits lower than normal. Then, inspect the word Liberty. Under magnification, you'll notice a subtle shadow, almost like a second outline beneath the letters, a telltale sign of a double die strike. Finally, the eagle on the reverse side has a slight doubling on the feathers of its wings. These three traits together make this coin the unicorn of modern quarters. But here's the catch. Most people who find this coin don't even realize it. They see a quarter, spend it, and move on. In fact, one of the earliest known examples was once found in a parking meter. Imagine dropping a $1.9 million coin into a meter to buy 10 minutes of parking, and this isn't just legend. Auction records prove that rare mint errors from the 1990s have skyrocketed in value over the past decade. Collectors now see them as treasures of American minting history, snapshots of human imperfection that became priceless. After the sale, he quietly retired. He paid off his mortgage, bought his dream truck, and started a small foundation to teach kids about coin collecting. In interviews, he often said something that stuck with people. It wasn't just luck, it was curiosity. Most people see change. I saw history. And that's the secret that keeps the coin world alive. Curiosity. Because the truth is, these rare coins don't hide in museums or vaults. They're out there, in circulation, in your change, in that dusty drawer in your kitchen. Every day, people unknowingly touch history. And sometimes, they spend it on a soda. Dealers are now paying serious money for high-grade 1994 D quarters, even those without the full error. Coins with strong luster, sharp strike details, and minimal wear can fetch hundreds or even thousands. But those rare few with the double die and misaligned mint mark? That's where the million-dollar magic lives. But the story doesn't end there. Recently, another possible specimen surfaced in the Midwest. A collector in Kansas claimed he discovered a similar error coin while sorting through a roll of quarters from his local bank. He sent it for grading, and rumors began spreading online that it might be another 1994 D with the same unique features. If it's verified, its value could rival or even surpass the original $1.9 million record. The excitement has collectors nationwide tearing through their coin jars again, inspecting every 1994 quarter under bright lamps and magnifiers. Some are even buying rolls from banks just for the thrill, hoping to uncover the next hidden fortune. And here's the truth most people don't realize. The 1990s were full of minting transitions. Machinery upgrades, die replacements, and heavy production quotas all led to more mistakes slipping through. These years are a goldmine for error coins, and the 1994 D is the shining proof. But what's truly fascinating is how a simple everyday object, a 25-cent piece, can turn into a life-changing artifact. It reminds us that value isn't always obvious. Sometimes, fortune hides in plain sight, waiting for the right person to notice the smallest flawed S.O. The next time you get change from the grocery store, don't just toss it in a jar. Look closely. Feel the texture. Study the mint mark. That ordinary-looking quarter might just be your ticket to $1 million surprise. And if you think this sounds too good to be true, remember, that's exactly what people said before the 1994 D million-dollar discovery. Now, let's make sure you know exactly what to look for. Under magnification, look for slight doubling in the letters of Liberty and In God We Trust. Step 3. Flip the coin. The eagle's feathers should show faint shadowing or doubling. This is rare, but unmistakable when seen. And finally, if your coin still has that mint-fresh luster and sharp detail, don't spend it. Get it graded immediately. The 2000p mint mark New Hampshire $quarter coin, an innocent piece of change most people overlook, has become one of the most talked about hidden treasures in the modern coin world. It looks ordinary at first glance. George Washington's familiar profile on the front, the old man of the Mountain Rock Formation on the back. But there's a secret buried in its metal, a minting mistake so subtle that even trained collectors miss it. And when that secret is found, the value skyrockets beyond belief. It all started quietly, almost by accident. In early 2000, as the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia struck millions of the New Hampshire state quarters, something went wrong deep within the presses. A slight misalignment, a planchet imperfection, and a die polish error came together in a perfect storm. Most of those coins were melted or circulated unnoticed. But a handful slipped through. their surfaces shimmering with microscopic details that reveal a million-dollar mystery. The man who found one wasn't even a collector. He was a retired mechanic, cleaning out his truck one morning. He saw a dirty quarter wedged between the seats and almost tossed it. But something caught his eye, the way the light hit the edge. He turned it over and noticed the old man of the mountain design seemed slightly different. The details sharper, the lettering uneven, and a strange doubling along the word New Hampshire. He sent it to a grading service just out of curiosity. When the results came back, his knees nearly gave out. It wasn't just rare, it was unique. A 2000p New Hampshire quarter with a double die obverse and a minting anomaly so clear, it was labeled a one-of-a-kind error. Collectors went wild. Dealers made offers that climbed higher and higher until it hit a jaw-dropping number, $1 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. News spread fast. Forums lit up, collectors scrambled through their jars, and for weeks, every coin roll hunter in America was tearing through bank-wrapped rolls looking for another like it. Some swore they found similar markings, but experts confirmed. Only a few carried that exact minting flaw. And those who did were holding small fortunes in the palm of their hands. It wasn't just the rarity, it was the story behind it. The Philadelphia Mint had been experimenting with die pressure that year, trying to reduce wear on the coin presses. One die was slightly overpolished, removing key design details and leaving behind ghost-like doubling across the inscriptions. This was a mistake that shouldn't have left the building. But a few slipped out unnoticed, mixed into the sea of ordinary coins. Collectors describe it as lightning in a bottle. The combination of timing, error, and survival made it legendary. Most 2000p New Hampshire quarters are worth just 25 cents. But if you spot that doubling on New Hampshire or Old Man of the Mountain, if you see that slightly off-centered strike or a mirror-like proof finish that shouldn't exist, you might be staring at one of the most valuable quarters of the millennium. And yet, there's another twist. One collector claimed to find another in a family heirloom jar, his late father's collection from the year 2000. He sent it for grading, confident he'd struck gold. But the verdict came back brutal. It was a common strike, just worn in a way that mimicked the error. That's when collectors learned an important lesson. Not every shine means silver, and not every flaw means fortune. Still, hope refused to die. The story of the million-dollar quarter lit a fire across the coin community. Dealers started offering rewards for any confirmed examples. Auctions began featuring lookalikes. Prices for similar varieties, minor double dies, off-center strikes, and high-grade examples soared into the thousands. The legend of the New Hampshire quarter had taken on a life of its own. But what really drives the obsession isn't just money. It's the thrill of discovery. That moment when an everyday person realizes the coin they've been using to buy coffee could fund their retirement. That feeling that treasure still hides in plain sight, waiting for someone with patience, luck, and sharp eyes. You're sorting your change after a grocery run. You notice a 2000p quarter. You flip it over, and the details look just a little off. The "Live Free or Die" motto looks thicker, the cliff lines deeper, the letters ever so slightly doubled. Your heart skips a beat. Could it be one of them? You grab a magnifier, check the edge, and realize it might just be the find of a lifetime. Collectors describe the moment of discovery as electric. Hands shaking, heart racing, the mind flooded with disbelief. One man said, "It felt like winning the lottery, except the ticket had been sitting in my pocket for years." But before you get too excited, you've got to know what to look for. The genuine million-dollar 2000p New Hampshire quarter has several key markers. Look closely at the front. The P mint mark should be crisp and perfectly centered. On the reverse, inspect the Old Man of the Mountain for doubling, particularly around the lines of the face and the inscriptions New Hampshire and Live Free or Die. The rock formation may appear slightly distorted, almost like a shadow duplicate carved beside it. Under magnification, the die polish lines shimmer like threads of light across the surface. Another telltale sign is the finish. Many of these valuable coins have a proof-like shine, even though they were struck for circulation. That's the result of the over-polished die, a gleaming surface not meant for mass production. However, beware of counterfeits. Scammers have tried to artificially create the doubling effect or polish common quarters to mimic the proof-like surface. Real experts use die markers, tiny dots and lines that appear only on genuine mint errors. If your coin lacks those, it's not the real deal. Even so, there are valuable variants beyond the $1 million version. High-grade 2000p New Hampshire quarters in pristine condition, graded MS-68 or higher, can fetch hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Slide off-center strikes, die cracks across Washington's head, or partial collar errors can push values into the tens of thousands. Collectors are now keeping their eyes peeled not only for the big one, but also for those minor miracles. Because as history has shown, today's minor error can become tomorrow's six-figure sensation. And that's what makes this coin's story so powerful. It's not just about metal and mint marks. It's about possibility. It's proof that treasure still hides where you least expect it. That even in a handful of coins, a fortune might be waiting. Imagine showing your friends the coin you once thought was just pocket change and telling them it sold for $1 million. Imagine realizing that your old coin jar isn't just spare change. It's a time capsule of forgotten wealth. Collectors were shocked. Dealers couldn't believe it. But one man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and it changed how people look at everyday coins